Hello everyone, I'm Kimberly from Dirt Floor Fibers and welcome back. We are here on a fine Saturday. We have the whole morning to ourselves and I have decided that this is going to be a week of whips. Partially because I'm so close on so many things. I'm just really excited about it. But really, next week, I'm going to have to get back into market prep mode. And if I ever actually put out the other video, because it was all over the place, you would have seen that my last week of market prep that I had, I got absolutely nothing done, like almost less than nothing done, because I was so excited about the whips I was currently working on that I had like no motivation to market prep. I just wanted to do my own things. So I'm hoping if I can make a lot of headway on my own whips this week, then next week I'll go back to being excited about market prep. That's the plan anyway. So what we're working on right now this morning, after I got my coffee, been hanging out here. This is my Pretty Please scarf. The pattern is a free pattern by Hedgehog Fibers. You can find it on Ravelry. It links it back to their website. And the yarn is my advent from this past year from Hue Loco. It was a Starlight Fade. And so it has been a delightful project. I love the yarn. I love the pattern. The pattern is so easy to memorize, and the fingering weight yarn is held double. So not only does it knit up faster because the yarn is doubled, but it also makes the yarn like really, because the hand-dyed yarn can sometimes pool or, you know, just sit. Oh no. Oh no. Okay, I panicked for a second, but I think I'm okay. I'm going to show you what made me panic. So along the edge of this, so one of the reasons why I love this pattern is it starts with an I-cord cast on, and then it has an I-cord going up the edge, and I just love that look. But I have this extra loop, I don't know if you can see that, on the I-cord, and that's what it looks like. Ugh, if I can turn around from the other side, that's what I was seeing. And I thought I somehow like slipped a stitch like in the I-cord border, but I think it just got pulled because it does look like it's still, oh my gosh, come on, focus. Like it's still wrapped around that one. And so I'm gonna give it a little tug and pray it doesn't like pull out. Nope, it just got caught on something. Oh, panic. And that's another reason why I want to get this done, is because riding around in my bag, not only is the yarn getting a little bit fuzzy because it's a single. I got the 100% merino singles as the base this year. It's also what I got last year. But the thick needles also keep poking into it, and I keep getting extra loops that I have to go back and fix. So if I were to do this project differently, number one, and I think I would definitely make this again. Like, that's how much I love it. It's so easy to memorize, and I just knits up fantastically. But you can see how I had, so this was my first color, and then it was alternated with this color, and then we switched this first color here. It's harder to see. It's harder to see with the purple because it blends so well, but basically like this is like one color, right? And then the other color is like here, and you're alternating where you're changing out the colors. Because it's being held double, I think in the future I would knit and then change out just one of the strands and then keep going, and then change out one of the strands and then keep going. And so that way you don't, where it's hard to tell because this is a really great fade, but you can see the line where the colors change. And so I think by only changing out one of the two strands at a time, that would make it fade even better. But again, I still have, so you can see like right there where the lines are, but I still love overall the way that it looks. Ugh, just so pretty. It's so pretty. And another thing that I changed about the pattern is it tells you to do it for a certain number of rows, and then you change and you do for a certain number of rows. I did that for the first, and I ended up, I think I still have it in here, with a little bit of yarn left over, right? And then for the second color, that first purple, I ran out of yarn. I was like, hey, in my knitting bag. I ran out of yarn before I hit the right number of rows, I think. And so basically I just started working until I ran out of that color. And then I changed it out. So some of these ends are like super long because I knit until I could change the color out on a purl if I was on the back, or a knit if I was on the front. Because we have a lot of like slip stitches and I want to make sure everything was going to be well hidden. And so some of the ends are a little bit longer than others, but I basically used all of the yarn and then left plenty to weave in at the end once I get everything to the blocking stage. I timed myself before, and I thought it was going to take me about 2.5 hours to work through one color, one mini skein. But I think I may have made a mistake. So this morning, I added this color right here. This is the one I'm working on right now, 20 gram mini, right? Added it in here and then knit, knit, knit until I ran out of this color. That took me about 1 hour and 7 minutes to get from here to up here, alternating the two colors, which really means I used half of the previous color, half of this color. So it really took me 1 hour and 7 minutes to use one mini. And then if I keep knitting at that pace, it'll take a little bit less than 2.5 hours to actually go through 1.5 minis, which would be one color. So I was trying to calculate to figure out how long it would take me to finish this scarf. Now, it's not taking into consideration that I also have to do an I-cord bind off on the other end, which takes a little bit of time, but it's also going to use a lot of yarn. So I don't know. So where I am with my colors right now, let's do a little calculating. This color right here is color number 22. And then I just wound up color number 11. So that one's a brand new one. So if you figure 22, 23, 24, that finishes that off. This is color number 11. So 11, 12, and 13 would have been my first one. I have 4 colors left. So if it takes me 2, 4, 6, 8, I either have 8 hours left of knitting or 4 hours left of knitting. I'm not entirely sure how this is going to work out, but either way, we are really, really close. And so I really want to, I said really like 30 times. This could turn into a drinking game. Every time I say the word really, take a shot, right? Or take a sip of water, you'll be well hydrated. So I would love to be able, regardless, back to the topic. Regardless, I would love to be able to actually finish up this project this week, have it off the needles, and have another whip checked off. How great would that be? I also have 2 more whips that are hanging out with me. One of them I will show more in depth in a video because I have been videoing the entire process. I am working on making an ebony granny squares blanket. I have 99 squares in a total of 9 different colors, all finished. I have to weave in the ends and then join the whole thing together and do a border. I would love to get that finished. And then I also have a sweater project. So this is my Austera cardigan, which clearly it's nowhere near being a finished sweater. This is just like the top of the back. However, I think I have to go back and measure. I feel like one of the reasons why I stopped working on this was because I was at the point where I had to put in a cord or waste yarn or whatever I wanted to use here and then pick up stitches like along the side to do like kind of like the over the shoulder piece. I'm not 100% sure, but I think that's why I got stuck here and kind of set it to the side until I could find my cords. And guess what? With all my new organization, I got cords. So I want to pick up and start working on that again. And then the 4th whip I have hanging out with me right now is the snowdrop wrap that I've been working on with my Dragon Horde advent from this past year as well. Now this one I've obviously only just got started on because I've got 1, 2, and I'm working into the 3rd color right here. This one though doesn't use the entire 20 gram mini. I still have a little bit left over, and so it does go pretty fast. I don't have the like snowdrop texture pattern memorized quite yet, but I'm hoping if I do a few more sections, I'll have that ready to go just like in my brain and I won't need to look at the pattern anymore. I do love the little fade sections, and so those work, the garter stitch works really, really fast. It's not quite plain garter stitch. It does have some, I think, short rows in it. It's been a while since I've worked on this because basically this outside edge, I've just gotten started, so you can't really tell, but can you see how this outside edge is ever so slightly longer than the inside edge? And so it just creates this really gentle kind of arc, it looks like, so that when you wrap it around your neck, it sits just really nicely. And then in theory, there's also fringe along the edge. I'm not normally a big fringe person because I don't like when it gets tangled or it starts to like get fuzzy because it's, you know, getting more wear and tear, like being washed and worn and stuff. So I don't know if I'll put the fringe on, or it could be cool to use some of the leftovers to make tassels and then put tassels on each of the 4 corners to help weigh it down when you put it around your neck. I don't know. We'll wait and see. Or maybe put fringe just along like the short edge instead of the long edge. I don't know. We got to finish the main body first. So I would also like to get a move on for this. So this week, those are the 4 projects that we're going to be concentrating on. Let's see how much of it we can actually get finished. Okay, update. So I have no idea what's going on. That was literally like the never-ending ball of yarn. But at the same time, like kind of just measuring it with my fingers, everything seems even. Or I don't know if maybe that purple had like less color, but I don't think so. So I had joined that pretty blue this morning, started my stopwatch, which measured 1 hour and 7 minutes. I stopped and I talked to you guys. Well, I also wound up the next color, stopped and talked to you guys, and then I joined the next color. And then I didn't set my timer because I thought it would take 1.5 hours and whatever. It took exactly 2.5 hours to finish this off. And now it feels like there's much less of the purple at this halfway point than there was of the blue. But everything's measuring out. It is the weirdest thing. Maybe it's gonna take me 1 hour, 2.5 hours, hour, 2.5. I don't know. There's gotta be a rational explanation, but like I don't have enough brain power to figure it out right now. But I just finished my next color, which was this one. I've done all of that so far today. Cause that, I don't know, guys. I don't know what's going on. So the point is, I'm out of yarn. So I have this, but I have no more yarn in my bag. And unfortunately, all of my yarn is in my bag that I left in my office at work. So in order to get more yarn, I have to go to work. So that's unfortunate, but probably time anyway. So we're gonna go and track down more yarn. Today's Monday, and so I am going to take advantage of this super rainy, like we're expecting like tornado type of weather here. And so of course that means it's the perfect day to work on whips, right? So I have, oh my gosh, it fell between the seat. Here we go. I have just added in my 24th and last color for my Pretty Please scarf. This is how much I have left of color number 12, which is the last of the contrasting color. And so basically what I'm going to do is knit the pattern until I run out of this yarn. And then that should give me plenty of this left over to do the I-cord bind off. Now I think, judging by what I have here, that I'm going to have a ton of this left over. Well, not a ton, it's only a 20-gram skein, but I'm going to have a significant amount of this last color left over. And I think that's okay with me because other than my first little ball of yellow that I already showed you, those are going to be my only scraps. So I feel like that's a really successful project. So I'm thinking if all goes well, I'll be able to finish this up today. It's not even Whip Wednesday and I already have a massive update. So I stayed up last night until like, I don't know, almost 2 o'clock in the morning. The storm was not nearly as bad as everyone was predicting with the like level 4 tornado threats. And I was really worried, but it wasn't that bad. We did have one last like really strong line of thunderstorms that went through. And so those winds were pretty scary, but it was fine. Everything worked out. But scarf is finished and off the needles. Well, it's not completely finished. I still have to weave in the ends and block it, but we are finished with the knitting and we are all off the needles. I'm not going to unroll it now because we're in the car, but just suffice it to say, it is absolutely fantastic and I love it. Okay, so that's my Pretty Please scarf, done and done, kind of, sort of. Then the next thing I worked on last night was starting to weave in the ends on my blanket project. I ended up, you can see that there's still ends, but they're woven in. So I went around the center like a bajillion times, and then on the edge, I like wove it one direction, went back the other direction. But I was worried, because this is just like where I am right now, that if I clipped off the ends, I would get confused as to what was my front side and what was my back side. Now, it's fairly obvious, front versus back, right? But my luck, I wasn't going to risk anything. So I decided to leave the ends on, and then that way I could do the crocheting on the blanket, and then once I know I like everything, I can go back and just snip everything off. But they're woven in, so I did that for 11 and 11 for a total of 22 out of my 99 squares. Done and done. And then I still wasn't finished. I pulled out my Archivist sock, which I think I showed you in my last video. I was down to the heel flap, right? And I remembered why I had set these to the side and like got mad at them. It was because the last row that I did, I slipped an extra stitch or a stitch, I dropped a stitch. I don't know what happened, but the stitches were all messed up along the top because I think I had tried to fix it and then like made it worse. And so last night, my first step was to tink it back a row, just to get everything correct back on the needles. And then I knit the last row again, and then I was all done. I turned the heel, and then I picked up stitches along the gusset, and now I am decreasing towards the foot. So we are actually starting to look like a sock now. Oh, I'm so excited, and I love these colors. So we're going to get going. It still looks like really small, but it does stretch a lot. So I'm hoping they actually fit. So anyway, they are on a size 1 needle, which is, I usually do a size 2, but it's called for a size 1. So I followed the instructions. Okay, anyway, so that's what I got done on there as well. So huge progress last night, and I am super thrilled with all of that. So we'll see what we can get done today. So I've got a little bit of a dilemma. So this morning I had already spent some time working on weaving in ends for my blanket, and then I spent some time working on my sock, but I decided I wanted to jump into my other big whip and get a little bit of work done on that just to kind of get it moving, so I had another option to work on. And so I figured out where I was. I am at the place where I need to add cords or waste yarn or something at the bottom so I can grab that needle to pick up stitches along the side. I double measured. And I got smart, guys. So sometimes it's hard on the end because I had to work even for a certain number of inches. And sometimes it's hard to tell exactly where your increases stop because it's kind of like curled and rolled and whatever. And so I thought ahead, and when I hit the end of the increases, I actually put a stitch marker like in the middle of the sweater. So I would have like a definite flat area to be able to measure, which was super smart. So I measured both here and over on this side, and I am exactly where I'm supposed to be in terms of length, maybe even a row too far, but you had to get back to the right side. So that's all set. But then it gives you a measurement from the picked up edge up here, which is like right there, down to the bottom. That's supposed to be 13 inches. This is not 13 inches. It's like 11 to 12 inches on a good day. If I stretch it, it does make 13. And you can see like how kind of like wiggly that is because it'll block out nice and flat, but like right now it's kind of pulling up a little bit. So the dilemma is, how am I that far off in kind of like the vertical measurement? I have the right number of stitches. I did the right number of increases. This is the correct length. So I'm not entirely sure what to do. Like, do I do another inch down here? But then that makes like this measurement like extra long. I don't know. I don't know that it matters. Maybe it does. Because then you're going to join back around, right? So I could always give it an extra inch. I think we're just going to go ahead and keep going and hope for the best. It does have a fair amount of positive ease, but I also got, and it's a little bit of a cropped sweater too. But then at the same time, I have like just enough yarn for my size. Like I needed 1,500 yards for, I think it's the size 5 that I did. And I have exactly 1,500 yards. So let's just keep going. Let's just keep going and see what happens. Alas, today is Sunday, and that means that our week of whips is done. Now, that's not to say that we're never going to work on whips again, because if we didn't, how would anything get done? Really what this week was more about was the fact that I had like 4 projects that were starting to stall, and I really wanted to concentrate on getting past those pieces that were causing me to put them to the side or avoid them, so that way we could get some of them knocked out. And oh my gosh, I feel so productive and so successful. So, first of all, we have a finished object. Here we have our Pretty Please scarf. This is that free pattern from Hedgehog Fibers, and it was using the Hue Loco Advent Calendar from last year, and I used the Merino Singles. So it's just a singles yarn. I love the way it came out. Look how pretty that is. Now I keep saying this, if I were to do this project again, the only thing that I would do differently, so it's 2 strands of fingering weight held together, or you could probably just use a DK if you wanted to, but you can kind of see, it's not too obvious, but you can see distinct sections where I changed out my colors. I think it would have looked even better if instead of changing both strands at the same time at a color change, that I had only changed out 1 strand at a time. So let's see, I haven't blocked or finished weaving in the ends yet. So I think it's going to gain a lot of length, especially being in that Merino Singles. Oh, but it is so squishy and so gorgeous. Of course, now it's like a bajillion degrees outside, so we're probably not going to get a lot of use out of this until next year, but this is definitely one that's going in the keep pile for me. I love how we have our I-cord edging, and it goes up the side as well. Oh, just look how pretty that is. And I love the little stripes along the edge. It did the I-cord away. I mean, it's not like a weird way, but it's not the way I've done it before exactly. And so it ended up with the stripes being like really, really even on it, rather than they can sometimes be offset if you do it the other way. I love the way it looks. Oh, I'm just so excited. Other thing I would do differently, just thinking about it. So I changed out my yarns just wherever they stopped. I think normally what I do with an I-cord edge is I'll end on the edge so I can hide my ends inside of the I-cord itself. I didn't do that this time just because I wanted to use as much of the yarn as possible, but I kind of regret that decision now. So I think in addition to changing out the yarns differently for a like more subtle fade next time, I think I would also risk losing a little bit of the yardage and end everything at the I-cord edge. But that is that project done and dusted. I am so excited to finally have this finished. So the next project that I had stalling out was my Archivist socks. Now this was a cast on from Sock Week of last year, so that was like July, something like that. And I had gotten through the cuff and had gotten down to the heel flap. And then I stopped because I did something on the heel flap. I don't know if I like slipped a stitch or I did something. I mean, obviously you slip stitches, but like, I don't know if I dropped a stitch or I did something that wasn't right, and then I tried to unpick it and I made it worse, and so I just stuffed the project away and didn't touch it for months, right? But this week I managed to get that top row or that last row fixed, which took like 10 minutes. It wasn't anything bad. I just tinked a row and then redid it and it was fine. And then I got all my short rows on the heel done, got everything all turned, picked up the stitches for the gusset, did all my decreasing, and now I'm just working in the round. It's not complete, well, it's not, I was hoping, and like in my head, I was like, oh, I'm just gonna knit around, knit around, knit around. No, we still have the 2x2 ribbing, which takes forever. So just in the back of my head for future project planning, I don't like socks that are all over 2x2 rib. So when I go to look at a project and I'm like, oh, that's a great pattern, be like, no 2x2 rib for you. So it's taking forever, but I really like the way it looks. I was worried about this being too small. I haven't tried to try it on yet, just because I'm afraid to. I'm afraid it won't fit, and I just want to like get them done. I can always gift them if they don't fit. But now being down here, like that looks normal sized. So I think it's just the ribbing that's pulling everything in. So I have high hopes of this being a finished object soon, at least the one sock, and then we can get up the guts to get off Sock Island and cast on the second one. But I did all of that this week as well. And then my next lingering whip was the Astera cardigan by Tanis Lavelli, maybe? I might have her name wrong, but Tanis Fiber Arts, right? And I had, whoa, I dropped my ball of yarn, that's okay. So I had done the tab, worked the back, and had gotten down to the point where I needed to take it off of the needles and put it on a cord or waste yarn to hold it, and I had just stopped. I remember now the reason why I stopped and didn't want to do the next bit. It didn't take too long to put it on the cord. That was super easy. But the problem is that this back panel is supposed to measure 13 inches, and it's like 11 inches on a good day. I'm a couple inches short. So I'm still not entirely sure what to do about it. I just ended up leaving the ball of yarn attached here. And then that way I can make a decision later if I want to go back and add a couple more inches. And then I just attached a new ball of yarn to pick up the edging for the first kind of, not really sleeve, but the shoulder that goes over to the front of the cardigan. And so I've been working on that. This one is supposed to be, so the back is 13. This is supposed to be 13 and a half. And then you join it all in a round, not really in a round, you join it flat, and then you go back and forth to work like the back and the fronts together. It's interesting because now that I'm working on it like this without having the shaping on the edge, my gauge feels much looser than on this part of the body. Like this feels like a tighter, more sturdy fabric, where this is a little bit more like drapey and flexible and open. So I'm a little bit worried that because I've changed up how I was working the stitch pattern, that my gauge is more relaxed, or if it's just more relaxed because I'm not doing the shaping on the edges. But basically with that knit one, purl one, that drives me nuts, right? It takes absolutely forever. But what I've been doing is on the side where it's a knit one, purl one, I've been twisting my purl stitches so that I can purl it faster. And then I fix it on the knit side going back in the other direction. I untwist it when I knit across. And so I don't know if that's also contributed to my tension, because I'm not trying to like hold the yarn tight to purl it. But that's what that looks like so far. We're not quite to the 13 and a half inches. So I think what I'm gonna do is work the 13 and a half inches on both sides, leave the ball of yarn attached in case I need to take it out or make any adjustments to it, and then try it on. I don't know if I can set my ball of yarn to the side, but basically, I don't know if that'll work since it's on the cord. Let's see. Okay, so like this, it's like a drop shoulder. So this comes like up and around, and then that's supposed to sit like along your back shoulder. I don't know. I think I'm gonna have to get both sides on so that I can see. Like that feels about the right width for the drop shoulder of the sleeve. But I don't know if the back's gonna be long enough. So I think we're just gonna have to finish both shoulders and then try it on-ish, like throw it over our shoulder like a cape and see if we like what it looks like. So, but that's how far we got this week. We got the cord put on, picked up the stitches along the shoulder edge, and then knit that entire panel. Not bad. And then my last project, I don't want to go into too much detail because I'm doing a separate video about the whole process, but I'm also working on making the Ebony Granny Squares blanket from Not Crawl Crochet. And I had gotten to the point where all of my squares were finished, but that meant that I had to weave in the ends for 99 squares. and I did not want to at all. I'd have to go back and look at my notebook. I can't remember if I had any ends woven in at the beginning of the week or not, but if I didn't, that means that I wove in the ends on 99 squares, and then I've joined the first row together. Now I just have 10 more to go, but that'll be next week's problem. Oh my gosh, so I had a finished project, a turned heel, a finished gusset, almost an entire like front panel, like sleeve panel on a cardigan, ends woven in, and started joining. So I am really, really happy about the progress I made this week. It's a really good lesson that every once in a while you need to go through your WIP pile and just see why they're all WIPs. Are they projects that you don't love anymore? Have you hit a point where you had to use extra brain power to make it to the next step? And then just sitting down and making a decision, right? Am I going to use the brain power to get past this tricky part? Or do I want to frog it? Do I want to hibernate it and bring it out later when I care a little bit more? You just got to make the decision and actually get it done. Oh my gosh. So I cannot wait to keep on with the projects. I think my big focus next week is going to be getting this blanket done so I can get that video out as well. Thank you for joining me for this week of WIPs, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.